All right. Hey, yo, it is yours truly, Lamore Decina, aka Mr. Cool Spot,
aka
Lyrical Storyteller,
aka
The Gator. Here with our lovely co-host.
What's up, y'all? Like he said, Sharita
I
Freeman,
wanted to say
aka
Sharita.
Free
I
the
wanted to
Poet.
say it
He gonna
for-
tell y'all my whole name every time, so it's okay, since y'all know now. Got
Yeah.
3 middle names in there too, okay, guys.
Yeah.
But we got an exciting podcast for you all today. I have all these lovely, beautiful people with me. We're going to be doing what we call crown discussions, okay? And so we'll allow everyone a quick little snippet to introduce themselves, so you can get familiar with who they are, and then we're going to jumpstart because it's going to be jam-packed with some good conversation. We would love your feedback. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
First, we got to shout out
the location.
Shout out to the Secret Garden. You guys come out here. They have something going on almost every night of the week.
Absolutely.
Literally. So y'all check them out. Look them up on their IG. Secret Garden, Raleigh.
Off Market Street.
Off Market Street. Yeah.
Market Drive.
So Market Drive. Thank you. But yeah, check them out. Support. We all here. It's Black History Month. We're supporting Black.
Yes.
We talking Black today. We going back into Black history.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that we wanted to have a discussion, a candid discussion.
We do.
Right? About what was actually good and what was bad for our communities, and what took place throughout Black history. So
uncomfortable conversations.
Very
so buckle up. Remember, we are all about facts first, feeling second, okay? And let's have a good build. But before, wait. I got you. Segue. All right? Because I'm chocolate and lit, okay? Just so y'all know. Chocolate and literate. Because we're talking about the Black Book Experience as well. I have the lovely Laquan. She is the owner of the Black Book Experience. And she was on our podcast last time about autism awareness, neurodiversity. Lamoy also has one of her lovely shirts on as well. Make sure y'all go cop one, okay? We'll make sure we'll drop some links for you so you can have that information. But we're going to let them introduce themselves. I guess we can start with Laquan since we pre-introduced her. Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. I am Laquan Black, again, founder of theblackbookexperience.com. Please check us out when you have a moment. And as I said, these lovely shirts, Free and I are twinning today, chocolate and literate. How more acceptable can it be for Black History Month when we're talking about being lit with education? But check out my website. And if you need some autism support services at any phase or stage, we're happy to help. So be on the lookout for our first children's series books around autism that we hope to have ready by April, which is Autism Awareness Month.
Nice.
All right.
Nice, Landy.
Yes, and I am Landy. I am many things. I see myself as a liberator, a philanthropist, a humanitarian. I'm also a realtor in the local area, RDU area. But I'm always very involved in our community. I'm passionate about our community, passionate about whatever I could do to do my part in uplifting, building, raising the frequency of our people. So, we out here honoring Black History Month, but Black history is every day. And so, but we're gonna give special reverence to it today. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This month, excuse me.
Hi, I'm Pat. I am a local poet here in Raleigh, North Carolina, writer, active in the community, and I'm just glad to be a part of the panel.
Okay.
Where's Jacques?
How y'all doing? I'm Jock.
Big job.
Poet, writer, father, leader, protector, learner, student. The way I like to put my name, Jock. I'm a jack of all trades. 2A. I have to put that in there. I'm part of the 2A community. If y'all don't know, that's the gun community. Protect yourselves. Know your laws. Be legal. But protect yourselves at all costs.
That's good stuff. Thank you. By the end of this, maybe we can get some more information about that too.
Yeah, we definitely can. Yeah.
Definitely, me and Jock have something coming up where we want to put together in regards to that. So for sure.
We'll talk about it before sure. Yeah.
Well, can we talk about these amazing elevator speeches? Like, I was here for it, okay, guys?
Right.
Like, y'all already my friends. Right? We're already family. But it's beautiful when you can have all aspects of a tribe, close and further out, but knowing we've all been around each other for years in the community, even the people that are in the audience here, that we've all just seen each other, know each other's kids, talk about each other's kids. It's a beautiful thing. So all right, so let's jump start. You ready?
Right, so let's get into this. So being that this is a panel discussion,
Yes.
we have rules, we have guidelines, we have an order. There's a format to this. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So each person will have the opportunity to share. First and foremost, you can either, if you would like to say whether you agree or disagree, that's fine, but give your reasons why. Right? If you agree, continue on, share your thoughts. If you disagree, mention that you disagree, then we'll get into why you disagree.
Absolutely.
Right? So then we're going to give you the question, but we're going to give you the backdrop to the question first. So we're going to set up the question with the backdrop to the question. Then we get into the question, and then we get you guys' thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair?
It's
All
fair.
right.
Now, FYI, okay, because I know we all are some amazing chit chatters and talkers, and we get in depth. We're gonna do a 2-minute timer, okay? So just because we know we can get so involved, but we want to make sure we get through all our questions, so we're gonna give 2-minute timers, okay?
You personally attacking me?
I mean, if the shoe fits, we already don't know. He like a big brother to me. We had this conversation on a regular basis. He be like, "You getting off the phone free? But nah, I think we all just have amazing wealth of knowledge to share. So I just want to make sure we're concise and we get it done, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
So
Let's
the
go,
first
little boy.
question, here's the first question. We're going to give you the backdrop, and then we're going to go into the question, and then it's you guys' thoughts and opinions and what have you. All right, so the first one. According to the University of Massachusetts Amherst poll, 86% of African Americans support the federal government sending cash payments to the descendants of slaves, while 72% of whites disapprove of this idea. As a result, almost 2/3 of all Americans oppose reparations. So the topic and the question here, the topic is ADOS, ADOS, African Descendants of Slaves, which is an organization that you guys should be familiar with. The question is reparations worth the chase? And anybody can go first.
Y'all need a little drum roll.
And we also have our audience could also chime in as well. So for our live audience that's here with us today, they can also chime in as well.
We want y'all to be interactive.
Fully interactive. Yeah.
I'll go. Is it worth the chase? Absolutely.
Okay.
Right? And 2 minutes, I'm gonna try to keep this under
Got
2
you,
minutes,
Andy.
right? I'm gonna give y'all some information, okay?
Okay.
So this is a study done through the University of Houston, downtown by David Michael Smith, okay? It's called Counting the Dead, Estimating Loss of Life in the Indigenous Holocaust from 1492 to the present, okay? I know we said African, the descendants of African slaves, but I'm gonna tie that back into something later, okay? So 1492 to the present. That was before the Atlantic slave trade, right? So we're talking about indigenous Black people that are already here on this planet. And the loss of these lives were due to disease, wars, genocide, invasions, relocation, destruction of food sources, devastation of their ways of life, and just declining birth rates from all this trauma that was going on, okay? So from 1492 to present, at one point, it was estimated that there were the estimates range from between anywhere between 40 million, right, and over 145 million indigenous people that were in the Western Hemisphere, okay, in general, right. By 1800s, that number dropped down to 600,000, right. So and the Western Hemisphere is both the North and South Americas and the islands, right? So we're talking about over millions of indigenous, Native Americans, Indians, whatever you want to call them, that have been slaughtered over the years. And by the 19th century, that number dropped down to 237,000 people. Okay,
It's a massacre.
237,000 in the U.S. In the U.S., let me rephrase that.
Okay.
In the U.S. And so now the slave trade, which was from 1525 to 1866, right? And those are our brothers and sisters that, of course, came over from the slave trade. They said approximately between 10 and 12 million slaves were kidnapped and brought over through the slave trade. They said about 15 to 25% of that number didn't make it from the commute, from the motherland to this land, right? So they estimated that over the entire slave trade and through slavery, about 5 million Africans have been murdered through these heinous acts. So we're talking about millions and millions of indigenous people from this melanated people from these lands, and over 5 million people from our brothers and sisters that came over from motherland. Now you said 2/3 of Americans are opposed to it, and that's because that 2/3 number is mainly non-blacks, right? Non-African or indigenous descent, right?
Okay.
And so if we calculate all of our brothers and sisters that have been lost through the slave trade, through wars, through the rape and pillage of the lands, that number, we would actually be the majority here.
I agree.
Right? We would have been the majority here. We were the majority here, right?
Yeah.
And until the Holocaust occurred, whether African or indigenous, right? Because one thing that Black people got to remember that we were already here. We keep going back to the slave
That's
trade,
what I was gonna
but we were already here,
Right.
right? And so it's always worth the chase, because we have to get someone to take accountability for what's done, right? But in determining how much is considered a reparation, now that would be a challenge, because how do you repay for all of those millions and millions of lives that have been taken? That's my. I might have mixed 2 minutes. I apologize.
No, you okay?
No, that's good.
So, but that segues into this. So, what about the 40 acres and a mule? Is that sufficient?
No,
No,
No.
that's no longer
But-
sufficient. But that's why they don't do it, because she segued into they can't. If they were to now, you break the system.
Yeah.
To take, and not only that, not even financially break the system. For them to actually say that they're going to do that, it will be taking full
ownership of
accountability.
what took place.
That will be
Right.
taking full ownership of what took place. Do you know how many systems was based off what happened? Not just on the Western Hemisphere.
Globally.
The Bank of London and all that. Do you know how much was tied into that? Not just getting the ones that they got over here, but like she said, the ones that was here first. Those genocides, do you know how much bloodshed? Do you know? And it's not even to even put it, because they see that mountain, but they have a problem with even opening the closet. Do you know how many skeletons will fall out on these people?
Well,
They psyche for people that battle so much with mental issues and psychological issues, they would fold. The system would literally fall. It's worth the chase. You know what I'm saying? And not even to get a check, it's worth the chase to have them, because it's an admission of guilt. It's you taking full of for them to be able to do that. It will be worth it just for that. But that's a domino effect that they not even gonna push that for the domino.
because after they take responsibility, now they're accountable for
Yeah.
doing
Right.
something about it, and that's what.
Yeah,
Right.
you got to do something about it.
Mhm.
Beside the little carrots and bones that you've been throwing, beside the little distractions and the fake trophies that you allow us to experience and make us think that we've gotten somewhere.
We've
You know what I'm
won,
saying?
We've accomplished.
You know what I'm
as a
saying?
Community.
I hate to use it as an example, but you know how much our community slowed down the first election Barack Obama won? Do you know how many of us finally thought we made it?
But I said, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna touch on things that I get here, bro, because I'm gonna make you. That's
So
like,
let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this for Jock, because if you actually look back into history, and I asked this question about, is it worth the chase? Because if you go back into history, you'll know when the slave trade happened, Queen Elizabeth was behind that, the first, right? So when she stepped in and she started I forgot the guy named Joseph something. He was he made ships and stuff. He came up with the idea.
He was able to do the large ships.
Yeah,
to have all
to
the
do the
people in them.
transaction. So he fed the idea to Queen Elizabeth first to see, like, what are your thoughts? We can benefit this, how to work. Anyway, so when that took place, it became a transaction, right, between the shipper and the receiver.
Mhm.
Now I'm in trucking, so I can use these terms.
Yeah.
Okay, shipper and receiver. Because him a truck driver.
So the shipper and the receiver, let's go with that, right? So it became a transaction between the shipper and receiver. So
Mhm.
now, if we were still considered 3/4 of a man at that time, right? We were not actually people that had rights and equal rights as our counterparts between the white people around, right? So if we were just considered property, chattel, slaves, right? Property of somebody else, then between the transaction from shipper and receiver, the government for the United States isn't responsible for what takes place between that transaction. So what I'm saying is, in a nutshell, if there's a transaction that was made between with merchandise, right? Trying to keep it in layman's term, with merchandise, then that means the end person isn't responsible for that. The shipper is. So that means we got to go back to the root cause. So we can say that Catholic Church, because Queen Elizabeth comes from the Catholic Church, the Roman Empire, right? We can look at the Roman Empire and say, well, the Roman Empire should be the one to pay us reparations and not the actual U.S. government, because this was a transaction. Hold on, let me finish. I got you. So it's a transaction between the Roman Empire and the U.S. government, but the shipper comes from Africa, right? So if they're taking people from Africa, then are they stealing people, or were there transactions being made? See what I'm saying?
Go deeper.
So
and it goes
That's
deeper because I have information on people that actually
That's
were the merchants.
That's
that do
cute.
'Cause I think-
Yeah, that's cute.
You want to
He
let
said,
them
excuse
finish
me.
answering?
I'm gonna let the ladies. I'm gonna let the ladies. I'm gonna let the ladies talk.
Let's go back.
I'm gonna let the ladies talk.
Let's go back.
That's cute. That's how we started off. That's cute.
Because you done started the whole.
Because this is how they took themselves. What he just said. That's how they took themselves in at night.
Okay.
That's how they took themselves in. That's how they wash their hands.
Wait,
That's
pause.
I just made a business transaction. That's
We gonna let them finish. Pause on that. We gonna let them finish. We gonna come back. We gonna come back.
I'm Taurus too.
Y'all see me on my phone? I'm just sharing the page. I don't want y'all to think I'm ignoring them. I'm in it, y'all.
Can we, what can we refocus on the original question
Yes.
before we got sidebarred?
Yes,
Okay.
reparations. Are they worth the chase?
So we can go to the next segment. I agree with both my fellow people here said. Is it worth the chase? Yes. Do I think they're going to take ownership? No. That is just not something they're ready to live with right now. Yeah, that's just not right.
But Landy said it right though. She said people that were here before the slave trade,
Yes.
they are owed reparations. You know what I'm saying? And I still think everybody
I'm
involved
saying
should
all
be.
of us.
Yeah, all of us. I think
From the
everybody.
Let's see.
motherland.
So
and
what
the
happens?
people that were here.
Go ahead.
So what happens when they say, "Well, some of y'all ancestors was in on these trades"?
What?
And that's
I mean, but that's what he just. That's
That's
what
what I
he
was
just.
pointing
But that's
out.
what he just talked
because
about.
the transactions that was happening in
At
Africa
the-
came from the kings that was there.
At the same time, you know what I'm saying. If that's the case, if you wanna go back and place blame there, you know what I'm saying. You know, I'm an analogy person. You know what I'm saying. We stay in North Carolina. You know what I'm saying. North Carolina is a place. If you know your laws, they have a self-defense law, but it's one swing. You literally get one swing, whether you know what I'm saying, you got a weapon in your hand or whatever. However you feel like you need to defend yourself, you get one attempt. After that first swing, it is considered premeditated. You know what I'm saying? So if we take that and we put it to what you just talked about with the business transactions and the merchants and stuff, and placing blame on the Roman Empire and all that stuff, if we take that and we do that, that still does not absolve what happened once those boats hit those shores. That still does not dissolve people being fed to alligators. That does not dissolve people being hung from weeping willows. That does not dissolve us going to certain places in this country and you can feel that energy in those fields, in those trees. That does not dissolve any of that blood that's in that soil. That does not dissolve them overlooking us the way they do when we built this. This structure is here because of us. This fake democracy, unfortunately, is here because of us, because we believe in a real democracy. But this facade that is upon it, this infrastructure to say U.S. government is not part of the reparations. If you want to somehow split it up between the U.S. government and the Roman, they can figure that out. I think T.I. was trying to, you know what I'm saying? T.I. was trying to get it from the Bank of London, you know what I'm saying? He was trying to, you know, for their part of building the ships and stuff. Yeah. Everybody has, but the part people that was in on that, it's a whole bunch of people that have blood on their hands. Mm-hmm. The person that started it does not get full guilt of the people that also continued it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like it had to be continued.
Right. It's accomplices to everything. You can't just blame one person. A person cannot do something on their own. Mm-hmm. If this shipbuilder and this Queen Elizabeth had nobody to support what they were doing, who were going to utilize what was to come, this chattel slavery, then it would have never existed. There cannot be a product if there's not a market for it, which means somebody has to buy it.
Right.
Come on. Right. So if people are not buying what you're selling, then your product and what you're doing goes away. So there are so many accomplices, to use a legal term, to this that have to be held liable for it. On top of the fact that when you want to say, oh, Africans, enslaved people, there are nuances to this definition of this term slavery, right? Throughout the course of history, right? And there were times when you go through history where slavery had a definition where it was to repay back something that you could not to somebody. Thank you. That's the term I couldn't think of, indentured servitude. But then people do what they do and they flip it to make it benefit them. But I also think a bigger question is for us today, if we're really having this conversation, what is the intent behind wanting the reparations and giving it to us? What will we do for? Is it truly saying it's the accountability? Then the accountability should be enough without the money. Right. But to me, when you add on the fact if reparations is going to be financial in nature, what so many people need, the bigger question for me is, what you gonna do with this money if I gave it to you today? If they drop, let's just say if they drop 50 stacks on all of us today, what are we gonna do? Because as a person who spent over 10 years in banking before I switched careers, watching people tax season after tax season after tax season get $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, and in 2 weeks they have nothing. Nothing.
You sparking a whole different conversation.
I know.
And that's why
we gotta pause.
And that's
and
why
I wasn't gonna go over that. I just wanted to put the question.
That's
all I
why.
wanted was to make the question.
And I want a moment, just a quick second to answer your question, because the further we go along, that's why we not gonna get it, for the simple reason, because the further we go along, don't get me wrong, there's gonna be a whole hen house full of people that's gonna spend the money the way you know they're gonna spend it. There's gonna be rims of all different kinds out this morning. There's gonna be cars of all different kinds.
Jerry
is gonna be stupid. There's gonna be cats walking around at night. Hold on, bring it home. There's gonna be cats walking home with night armor and full gold and stuff. Don't get me wrong, they get that kind of money. You know it. But at this point, in the worlds where we're at in present time, in this point in time, 2023, they know that if they drop that money on us, there's enough of us that's gonna break the system without them even having to admit guilt.
Yeah. I agree with you.
There's enough of us that's gonna go out there and buy all that land. I don't know if you did the research, but buying an island really ain't as much as we think it is.
Let me ask you a question.
There's gonna be a whole bunch of us.
When done collectively,
right? There's enough of us now
though.
Collectively, but there's enough groups now. That whole division. It's still division within us, but now they've changed it. It's not just black men against black men. The real division right now is black men against black women, and we're not seeing it. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing that. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole different subject. But there's enough people. That's why the further we get what you were talking about, the further along we go, that's another reason they're not going to give it to us, because they know if they give it to us, the further along we're gonna do there's enough of us that's gonna do the right thing where it's gonna tip the scales. It's not gonna. Yeah. It's not gonna be in their favor.
Let Landy go.
I was gonna say something. A couple things, right? To touch on what you were saying about the business transaction, right? So here's a couple things going on, right? There's a business responsibility and accountability, and there's a moral responsibility and accountability. If I see a child, I don't
moral according to who?
Moral. Spirit. Someone like it's just. You're saying according to who?
Yeah.
We're generally moral people, but everybody's not moral.
So yes. So I have a question. I have a question to anybody, right? If you were to see a child, I don't care what color the child is, being beat by some grown person, don't even know the child, they're out abusing the child, you're morally going to step in and do something.
Absolutely.
We would,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I would think,
Mhm.
The U.S. government, though.
right. But what I'm
see-
saying is,
but
what I'm saying is that doesn't alleviate their responsibility of
Right,
having,
right.
of being, their responsibility from it. So
having more
if,
integrity.
if you
Yeah,
don't,
integrity.
if you don't stand in and do something, you're also responsible.
Mhm.
Yes.
You're just as responsible for the person that initiated
Mhm.
Right.
than
Sense
for
of
allowing
omission.
it to occur.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
what I'm saying is that's the answer to your question. To speak on what you just said about the people misusing the monies that also stem from the trauma
Mhm.
that we've been through that
I
cause
agree.
our mindsets and our
You think-
psyche to be in that space where we devalue ourselves and we put more value in the stuff outside of us than us. So all of it goes back to
Yeah.
the damage that was
The system.
sparked from that
Mhm.
same system.
Yep.
All of it is.
And that's why
All
you
of it
can't.
is.
That's why you can't really say. That's why you
Oh,
can't
we got
really
somebody
say.
in the audience that got to say that. Go ahead.
I say I disagree. I say I disagree. They will give it to us.
Hmm.
Okay.
Why? Because they know it's going to go right back into
Oh,
the corporation.
That makes sense.
Mm.
United States
Yeah.
doesn't have morals because a
Mhm.
corporation has no morals.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
United States is a corporation, not a country. So what we're talking about is you're having people, a system that knows that it is about economics,
Mhm.
Yeah.
checks and balances, dollars and cents.
Right,
So,
right.
like where we're in right now, if you give the money,
Mhm.
they know they're going to give it
Right
right
back.
back.
Because
The
of the more
moves.
spending habits.
That's what's going.
Yeah.
They're depending on us to be
Yeah.
slack. They're depending on us to be ignorant. Yes, you're
Into
going to
our
have
trauma.
the few that's going to
Right.
do what you said about the land, but the majority versus the minority, they're looking forward to the rims, the vacations,
Mhm.
there are packages out there.
Mhm.
It's a system that's designed for you have to feed the monster,
That's
feed
right.
the monster. And this would greatly feed the
Mhm.
monster. We're gonna give it to you, but we're gonna give it right back.
Right.
And I
agree.
and I agree with you to a degree. If you would have caught me 10 to 15 years ago, I would agree with you to more of a degree. Even if it's not the system or the head of the system that's morally waking up, the gears that operate the system are starting to question their function.
Mm.
Okay.
10 to 15 years ago, we were in the height of, you know what I'm saying? And to talk about the whole economic thing, you know, all we did was really define whips and chains when you think about it.
Literally.
Mhm.
Whips, chains, that's really already, and it's a programming. It's a breaking down, and then it's a reprogramming, it's a redefinition, because we think we have something when we acquire those things. But, and it is a business. It's a monster that has to be fed. They not gonna give it. The pandemic was a testing of really if they was gonna give it to us or not. The pandemic backfired. There was a lot of people that took that bread, that assistance that was given, the money that they had, and they put it into the monster. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, they put it into the monster, but you did have a lot of people that hibernated, so to speak. They redirected their energy. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Especially for the melanated community. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of them didn't get the full impact of the pandemic because they was already well off. We seen them on TV crying and stuff and all that, but that was only a facade because their everyday routine was being interrupted.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So 10 to 15 years ago, I would agree with you more, but now that this awakening, and I hate to use certain terms because, and they really try to make it, we see it so much, they really try to make these terms become cliche
Mhm.
and demean them so we don't continue in the path of awakening. But that's really what it is. It's an awakening. They not, like I said, the further we go along, the further we get away from it. Because the further we go along, the further they realize they can't control what we do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people that is gonna buy. It's gonna be all, but now in today's age,
55-inch weeds,
the
baby.
balance, it's enough of us that's gonna do, like the group that just got together in Georgia and bought that was like 160 something acres
It's a
together.
group in
Like,
Texas. They got-
And Killer Mike just got together with a group and they bought it's enough of us now.
That's right.
And it's enough examples now, especially being in the 2A community. It's something that we really look for because we want our own land to be able to safely arm ourselves, safely train on without any. I don't know if y'all know what's going on right now with it's a family of farmers in Colorado. They're literally trying to have their land stripped from them by the sheriffs and stuff. Like they're illegally, they have like 1,000 and some acres. During the pandemic, these people took care of the community that want the same color as them. You know what I'm saying? And now this same community is trying to strip them of what they have because they understand the value is really in the land. The value is really in their mind. The minds that's waking up. Like if you got a space to do what you want on, you can't control what I do. You know what I'm saying? I have a space I can go to. I can hide. I can cocoon myself. I can meditate, and you can't get to me.
Yeah.
Legally.
So
You can't
let's go to the next one because we've been on this 30 minutes now. We've been 30 minutes.
You gave some good meat and potatoes.
Yeah,
You did that. You did that.
We're here to make y'all think. That's all. We're here to make the community think. You know what I'm saying? So that was good. That was a good round right there. I appreciate y'all for that one too. And not to mention too, the Catholic Church is they made a pledge to actually pay reparations to the descendants of slaves that came in from Virginia, and they are paying that off. But that's very few in between. That's like I can't remember how many people out of the millions that were actually affected by it. But they made a pledge. I think it's like $100 million that they're actually going to pay off to small families.
Oh, you gotta stake your claim.
Right.
What's that? You want to add something?
No, I'm saying when you look at your lineage, you'll see where you came in, and many of us did come in from Virginia and North Carolina. If you really do your
mine was right there in North Carolina.
right,
Yeah,
so I would say many people would need to do so
that's funny.
to check out their history, to know what's going on in their family lineage, to be able to get what they deserve.
That's funny. Yeah.
TC, you want to add something? You good?
TC said,
Not yet.
All right. Well,
Let's go to the next one.
I just want to let y'all know I have something to say too, but I'm gonna stay in later.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No. Okay. So this is my quick thing. When it comes to reparations, I think the issue that bridges the difference between both of what you stated was trust and community, and if we truly trust each other, because when you get a certain amount of money, there's either gonna be we're gonna rift about it, or we're gonna love on each other about it. But if we love on each other about it, then somebody else gonna come get us. They ain't gonna let us just excel that way. Ooh, I got goosebumps. So then you come into what's the next massacre, unfortunately.
You know,
Because something else gonna happen.
We can't think like that.
We can't no
And
more.
I was going to touch on this some point in this conversation. We can't think like
We
that.
can't no more.
We are spiritual people. We have the power to do and create anything that we
Woo!
want.
As long
So
as-
if we surround ourselves with, I believe we have to get back onto what Marcus Garvey was doing and creating that system of nationalism where we have our own society that
Yes.
we create our own policing, our own militia, our own banking, our own.
Yes.
You know, like he was saying,
Yes.
you have your protection surrounded, and even though I'm not one to stand by AI, but there are some benefits. Where you talking about with the Tulsa Oklahomas and things like that. Right now, there's so much. Everybody's watching from all over. You drop a bomb on a community like that today, there's going to be issues.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also, we're getting to the point he was touching on the awakening. There's a spirit. Our ancestors are assisting us right now.
Absolutely.
They assisting us right now, but we have to continue pushing forward and make sure that we come together with not all of our brothers and sisters all going to join us, but it's not for everybody.
It's not meant
but for all of us that think and understand what's happening and to know that the power is truly in our unity, we need to come together and make it happen. And those our other brothers and sisters that ain't with it, they're going to see and they're going to follow.
Yeah.
You understand? They have not seen us in a collective space of unity and success without the horror, the Tulsa, you know, the without all the negative things. Oh, you know, they took out Malcolm. They took out. You understand what I'm saying? They haven't seen it successfully done. When they see it, they will adjust.
Okay.
They will adjust.
That segues into the next one.
I mean, but
we got a segment. Let's say.
We got a segment.
We got a segment. We got like 7 questions.
The Civil Rights Movement was a nonviolent social and political movement and campaign from 1954 to 1968 in the U.S. to abolish, legalize institutional racism, segregation, discrimination, and disenfranchisement through the United States. Though this movement established the voter through this movement, Voters' Rights Act was established. Now, the civil rights, was the mission complete or was it a fail?
This is a two-part. We're gonna have two questions. So we're gonna that's a setup for the first one, and then we're gonna give you another setup for the second half of it. So go ahead.
Okay. Is it my goal?
I think Kat.
Whoever want to go first.
Okay, you can.
Tag.
What did we accomplish?
She said
I mean, you ain't really gotta go no further than
So, well, I mean,
So-
what people we want details.
Okay.
Can you give them
So, outside of being able to vote for their laws and their systems, what did we win because or accomplish because we are still having to fight for our freedom. We're still having to fight for equalness, equality. When we built this, we haven't accomplished any. What have we accomplished? That they have not stripped, that they're not continue to strip from us.
Oh, on top of that, everything she said was 1,000%. We have to be careful, and so people can. I got to be careful what I say because I don't want to offend anybody, right? Because I feel like we need to fight wherever we feel we need to fight at. I'm not one that deals in politics because I believe it is a part of illusion, right? But that's my opinion. With that, we have to be careful because it seems like they're giving us something, but on the other end,
what are they taking back on the back?
Taking back. So we're going to talk about that. The Voter Rights Act, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At the same time, what did Richard Nixon do? Right? Right? What did he do? He created, after the drugs was pumped into our communities, he created the war on drugs. So not even 3 years later, the incarceration rates started going sky high. In the 70s, it went from the population, I think they said it was right under 300,000 for the prison population, and increased to over twice as much. It increased to like 627,000, and now today is like 200 million. It's like, I'm sorry, not 200 million, it's 2 million. It's 2 million. And most of them, 2/3 of that population is being us. His assistant admitted that it was an attack on our community. He admitted that it was, they couldn't downright, declare war against us and our community, but they use that as a disguise. So we have to be careful when we say, when they're approving these acts that seem to operate in our favor, because we see that is actually something that's not, it's an illusion. They seem to be given, but they're also taking,
pacifying,
right, more than they probably have given. More, I bet more people, more melanated people are incarcerated than went out and voted.
You
understand?
I agree with both of y'all. 99.9.999%. Where I disagree with y'all is what they giving. They really haven't given anything. Everything we've gotten, we've had to take. What they appear to give only becomes a carrot that's dangled in the face. The best analogy I can come up with is we've all was kids and we wanted to go outside and chores had to be done. But when your mom told you what chore to do, it was just one. Until you got done with that one. And she said, oh, before you go outside, you got to do this. And then you got done with that one. And she said, oh, that's this. And then you got done with that one.
Don't forget
and then there was another one. So it's this illusion that eventually I was going to get my freedom to go outside. But you kept me busy.
Come on, Joe.
With the thought of the carrot. I mean, we see it. You can look at it in history. When we thought we was getting somewhere and our legs slowed down. Because first of all, we feel like we shouldn't even be running this race.
Right. Absolutely.
because of what we've already talked about and laid the foundation in the conversation leading up to this. This race that we run in, we've technically built the stadium that we're running it in.
Yep.
This rat wheel that you have us on, we built this hamster cage that we have ourselves trapped in. So when you start to think about that and you start to think about it, you know, mentally and stuff like that, everything that we've received, or, you know what I'm saying, everything that we've gotten in our possession, we've literally had to take, whether it be through blood, sweat, tears, death. Like, in order for any laws or anything to be put in place, you literally have to have bloodshed.
You had to suffer.
Like,
So does the martyr have to pass?
There's never, and there shouldn't be a thing of martyrs.
Right.
It's never simple communication. It's never simple understanding. It's always, it has to be a symbolism. You know what I'm saying? And then when it is a symbolism, they continue to throw it in your face in a traumatic sense. So even when you do get a win, you didn't have to be reminded of what it took to get that win. So you don't get to savor it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, the best analogy I can use for that is cooking. You cook, a lot of times when you cook, you don't even want to eat the food afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So I can't even enjoy what I just did. You know, it's...
So check this out. So we got some notes for you.
Yes.
Can you read the notes?
While the Civil Rights Act and activism of Black Americans produced measurable gains in the education, professional, and political achievements of Blacks, they have failed to deliver in far-reaching ways, claimed Litwack. In the early years following the passing of the Civil Rights Act, the rural South remained relatively unchanged in attitude, he said, and for many Blacks who depended on whites for their livelihoods, the luxury of sharing a lunch counter or a water fountain with whites took a backseat to basic issues of survival. Even as the civil rights movement struck down legal barriers, it failed to dismantle economic barriers, he said. Even as it ended the violence of segregation, it failed to diminish the violence of poverty. So, what are your thoughts?
Welfare wasn't created for us. Welfare was created for them. Let's get that first and foremost. There's more of them on welfare than it is us. That was a system that was never created for us. It was always created for them.
But you also got to remember the white to black ratio as far as percentage. They've always had a greater percentage as far as ratio. So it's you like 74.6%, something like that. Whites, and it's like 13.4 blacks. So there always be a more influx coming from them, but the higher likelihood would always fall back on us because we have a lower percentage in population. So that means it may seem worse on us because there's less of us. You see what I'm saying? But there's more of them, so it doesn't seem so bad.
Well,
that makes sense, right?
We have to be careful about those percentages from white, because I know personally many people that came from other melanated places and they're listed as white.
Right.
So those percentages aren't completely accurate. They use that as a tool to make us think that we're constantly outnumbered. And so we have to be mindful of that. We have to be careful with that. But also to add to what you just said, it's more like the welfare whole thing. It created a space for them to justify concentration camps. That's what our ghettos were. They weren't living.
I've always said that.
Places for us to be in an inhabitable, thriving environment. It was a concentration camp.
Oh my God.
And also these individuals that do this, that run the world, they understand how the mind works. They understand that when you operate, when there's a bunch of negativity surrounding you live in lack. When you live in lack, there's also going to be a whole slew of other negative things that attract that energy.
Desperation.
You attract the energy you emit.
Yes.
And so you're going to see the crime rate, Scott, soar. You're going to see all the other things that come when living in a space of poverty.
Black on black crime.
They understand that. And so it's that's how they justify their concentration camps.
And see, and if you couple that, because we as humans, we have a bad habit of not connecting the dots, and connecting the dots with something we played as kids a whole lot. We get adults and we don't connect the dots. So if you couple that with the Ronald Reagan Act and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, with crack and guns being put into these low income communities and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Being put into these communities. And on top of that, you know what I'm saying? You then put it in a situation where it's set up to where it has to be a woman with children. You get them comfortable. Rent is only like $50 something a month, but at the same time, you know they not dealing with they not dealing with their male counterparts. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know that's going on, but I'm gonna turn the blind eye to that because I need that to go on in order for this to work. And you talking about somebody that came from that system. My mother stayed in housing, Chavis Heights housing to be exact. Our rent was $52 a month, but my parents used it for what it was supposed to be. It was a step up.
Right.
It was a springboard.
You better get out my nose.
While my mother was paying that low income rent, my father was legally, he wasn't illegally trapped. He had CDLs. I just want to put, he was legally getting a paper check that wasn't necessarily counted in the, you know what I'm saying?
The income of the
right.
household.
So, and we was only there for like 2 years. After that, it was a whole, you know what I'm saying? It was a different situation, you know, but they get a lot of our community comfortable, complacent on that, you know what I'm saying?
And they never
Because
stop.
you didn't get them low income,
Yeah.
and then you get them an unlimited, you get them a crazy amount of SNAP benefits, knowing what they doing with them because they just ain't paying it all on food.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So then you sit there and you act like you don't know how they getting the Jordans, the Jerry's, the Donks, the rims and stuff like that, but they're living in low income. And then that guy that's down the block that's living in low income, but he ain't getting it like that. And that toxicity that my man just said is being put into the community, he see my man with the Donk, but because they got to survive desperation, now he going to rob him with the Donk. Now my man done got robbed. Now if he survived that, he got to get his get back. Now you got a whole thing. Now you got somebody either in a pine box that way, or you got somebody in a cell box that way.
And
You know
the
what I'm
kids
saying?
suffer after all of that.
And there's
Statistics.
And welfare has become, it's the whole thing going back to psychology and trauma. Welfare has created a mentality for us and not a means to an end, which is pretty much all that you are explaining. Like you, I come from the ghettos and inner cities of New York. We talked about a story before the podcast started where I said where I came from, going to school, way out of my district for a very particular reason, watching all of my relatives around me live off the system, play off the system. Back in the day, you could order things in the catalog and nobody knew who you was, and you got some credit card number from somewhere, and all kind of boxes would just come to your house, right? Meanwhile, even playing out of that kind of system, like if you was gonna buy all this stuff out the catalog, why do we still have nothing to show for it? Or why are you not reselling it and trying to figure out a way how to come up, right? Like, so for me, I'm watching all of these things around me in a house that I live in other houses that I live in. And I said, this is not what I want to continue to be.
Right.
I chose, and it wasn't an easy choice, and it was a hard road. At almost 50, there are still certain mentalities and ways of thinking that I struggle with, but I'm aware now that they exist, right? And I'm doing things that counteract what those things are, so I don't continue to live in those experiences and attempt to not pass those experiences along to my own children. You got to get out of the mentality of it. It's the psychology of it. They're teaching it to us, like Jock said earlier, in 150, but we showing up to school, but we ain't getting it because a lot of us is there for the check, because again, that's another hustle and it's another struggle, but we're not using it as a means to an end and have a plan and create community. I have said it a million times. It all comes back to the family and the sense of community. And if you're not doing it at home and it's not being pushed out, it doesn't matter what you do collectively, you're only ever going to get but so far, no matter what is given to you or what you take.
So let me give y'all part two of that question, right? Part two says this. There's an argument about our commitment to our elders. Peaceful approach from the civil rights era being the root cause of the failure of our failed process today. What are your thoughts?
I agree. Well, we talked about it. He touched on it earlier. He touched on it earlier. So they've created a place and a space for us where we operate individually, right? Where when our indigenous cultures, spirituality, we operated as a village, right? So everybody was involved. Our elders were involved. And so in these places and spaces, like I said, when you live in lack, the psychology of the people is different.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And so, for instance, I grew up in the hood.
Survival.
I didn't have elders. I had old fools.
Yeah.
Mm.
There was nothing positive that I gained
Right.
from them,
Right.
right? I didn't meet elders until I got older in age, and I reconnected with my culture and with my indigenous roots and with my spiritual practices. That's when I met true elders, and those elders, many of those elders, I would do anything for. You
Right.
understand? Because there's the wisdom, the respect that I have for them, right, and all that they've placed into me. So when that is there, you're gonna treat your elders completely different
Right.
than, like I said, you dealing with old fools. You don't care nothing about old
We're
fools.
talking about
There's-
we're talking about the civil
So,
rights
right.
era, man.
Okay, you
It
said
don't mean that they
happened
want
to the civil
food,
rights?
though.
Yeah.
So,
No,
I'm sure they were,
Yeah.
but the question is, and that was good.
Mhm.
But the question is, there's an argument about our commitment to our elders' peaceful approach from the civil rights era.
Oh, the
Oh,
peaceful.
the
Oh,
peaceful.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a Malcolm X
Is,
girl.
is that,
Yeah, see.
so is that
You
can we apply the civil rights approach today?
you have to what they have to understand is the way they fought the fight is the way they fought it.
Mhm.
The way we fight our fight is the way we
So
gonna fight
we
it.
gonna fight it.
We're at a different
You know,
place of
there's a-
survival.
There's a phrase, the revolution will not be televised. You know what I'm saying? It's not
That's
gonna be the same as for one, there was a lacking back then of resources for them to be able to even if they wanted to aggressively react to the aggression they were faced with.
Right.
Even when the Black Panther Party started to come about, you know, you see how quickly that was snuffed out because if the collective would have got big enough, even though they outnumbered us, if we still reached a certain number, IQ wise and the way we mobilized, there was gonna be nothing they could do with us. That's why now when you see these units that mobilize when it's time to vote and protest come on, you know what I'm saying? They're trying to find anything to ticky-tack with these fellas to get them off the streets because we move with a different presence when it comes to that kind of thing, protection of our community nowadays. That and a lot of us, we've been programmed so much with seeing dogs released on them, water being sprayed with water, bodies hanging, you know, being fed, you know, the pictures of the sugar babies being fed to alligators, tarred and stuff like that. You know, I'm aware of myself to know I wouldn't have made it back then, bro.
Me either.
With your
My
mindset
man,
now.
it wouldn't have been no master. You wouldn't even got me
Yeah,
off
with
the
the mindset
ship,
now,
dog.
yeah.
Like I would have, as soon as you would have tried to come get me out the bush, some of y'all going with me. You know what I'm saying? This day and age, I hate to put it like that, but when the killings really started getting, when the killings like, because we, you know, and the killings always happen, but because everybody has a camera in their hand now, it's more in our face.
Yeah.
But when it started getting more shown like that, like I had to tell my wife,
As
you know,
a
as
black man,
you know what I'm saying? And as an armed black man at that, like if I ever get in a situation where I feel like it's me or them, take care of the family.
Right.
Because I'm not going out where I'm running and they shooting me in my back.
Right.
I'm not going out where they beating me and I'm not going out like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that peaceful protest, I get it because that's what they thought they were supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? But there was a lot of them that wanted to act with anger, that wanted that Malcolm X way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's more what we on now, because if we can't talk about it, which we've tried to talk to y'all, if we can't communicate about it, y'all don't want to communicate peacefully. You know what I'm saying? For me to continue presenting myself in a peaceful manner and you keep doggone approaching me with aggression would be me putting myself in harm's way. You know what I'm saying? I'm not protecting myself.
Right.
That would be being naive. That would be being an idiot.
Right.
Them old fools
Yeah,
that she spoke on.
Yeah.
So now we can't, it's not, I honor, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate that y'all felt that y'all had to be in a peaceful manner to really get somewhere. But this day and age, if they approach, man, we not.
Historically,
I
that's
apologize
how
because
nothing has gotten done anyway. Nothing has gotten done historically. When you think of every land invading every land and every people invading every other people, whether indigenous or not, it has come through fighting and wars and massacres.
You had to understand that was gonna
And
be-
you cannot, cancer doesn't even work that way. You start with something local, right? Or local people who say they want to move on and do something else. You build a stronghold there. And once you got it, then what do? Like a cancer, you metastasize, which means you got to start killing everything around you for you to take over.
Yeah.
In a different way, in a more visible way, like he said, because we have all of this social media and cameras to show up everything.
Right. I have to strike my comment because I didn't. Misunderstand. It didn't work, but I understand where that approach came from. They were operating out of fear. They had a different type of motivation that placed them in their mind to, they was thinking safety. When you're in a space and you see multiple people around you murdered, hung, their genitals, mutilated, that will have you operate in a different space where you understand that I want to stand up, but I also need to protect my family and the people around me. And so I feel like that's where that movement came from, because they were operating out of a space of fear. They seen, we haven't seen that. We've seen lynchings, right? But we haven't seen them to the degree that they've seen them. And so we react a different way. Yeah, we got some rebels, some fire in us, right? But like I said, they had a different type of motivation. And so I get it. It helped them survive through that era, being what they call peaceful, but still standing up for what they believe in. Now the lynchings we see, like them assassinating our brothers and sisters and allowing it to play on live TV, touch back onto the spiritual aspect in awakening. We have to understand as a people, everything operates on frequency, and they understand this. They understand the power of all of this. We just don't, right? But right now, I think I shared this on Facebook a couple of days ago. You can actually end a conversation with my friend Dion. So she's always asking thought-provoking questions. You can go right now and you can look up a video about water and how frequency changes the molecular structure of water. Our bodies are made of 70% water. So it's doing the same thing to us. So they're probably doing it because they know, like you said, they're questioning their power. They know Babylon is falling. They're trying trying to install that fear, because when we see that, that's what happens. Those negative emotions come into play, the fear, the rage, the anger, and it keeps us from elevating spiritually. And it keeps us from elevating. So they're trying to do what they can.
Yeah, we're gonna let Bernard.
I just got one statement.
Yeah.
When you say we have succeeded or peaceful or anything like that, they don't see us as people.
Yes.
So how can we be peaceful towards people who don't see us as people?
Right.
They don't even
You don't see me.
respect as
You don't
an
see
animal.
me. The only person, I get what you're saying, because the only person you're gonna give to sit time to have actual understanding and comprehensive conversation is somebody that you see as your equal. What we're doing right here, we all see each other as equal. There's nobody that's captivated with the minority or the majority of titles or money or financials, bank statements. So I get exactly what you're saying. What you just said, the fall of Babylon. That's another reason the reparations ain't gonna happen, because they realizing that the grip is loosening. You know what I'm saying? That will further the grips loosening. If you said something else that I really wanted to jump on real quick.
Pertaining to what? I'll help you refer.
Babylon, fear. The frequency.
Why you think
Frequencies.
Yeah.
That's what it was. The water and the frequencies. You know what I'm saying? The energy and the vibrations. That's why they showed us this stuff as they do. You know what I'm saying? To keep us off frequencies. To give even more example, what she's talking about with the water and how And I just recently came across this real quick. Dolphins. Everybody know about dolphins.
Mhm.
Dolphins has,
Mhm.
well, we thought they had closest to the human mind,
Mm-mm.
but they're actually
Most
smarter than
intelligent,
us.
yeah.
There's actually been a study right now of people, of women that has given water birth by dolphins, assisted water birth.
Mhm.
They actually surround the pregnant woman like a doula team, like 2 or 3 of them,
Mhm.
and they actually sonar, because dolphin don't make a sound. Their water pulses through the water,
Mhm.
makes the water reverb, and that's what makes the sound.
Mhm.
These babies, these pregnant, first talking about the pregnancy, these women, it's been women that have had them incidentally, just in, you know what I'm saying, but they have had unassisted dolphin births as well, and they said the assisted dolphin births,
Mhm.
it's a lot less painful.
Mhm.
The baby is a lot calmer
Mhm.
in the system.
Mm.
They've continued to study these children as they grow.
Mhm.
Their muscles are not like average human muscles.
Mhm.
Mm.
Their IQ ends up being way higher.
Mhm.
It's like sonar when the
Mhm.
dolphin is talking to the baby
Mhm.
molecularly, because the water moleculars, that same embryo sac, and since we're 90%, we thought we were 70, but since we're 90% water,
Wow.
they're changing the molecular composition of that baby. So that, I just wanted to, it's
Yeah.
that frequency thing. It's a real thing, and how they send out sounds and stuff. They try to make comedy of it. Like, I don't know, South Park was something that was big as we were growing up.
Absolutely.
The Brown episode, the Brown note, where there's a note that you can play and it make you defecate all over yourself. Like, people don't understand, it's really notes that can do that. Hypnosis with the whole get out thing with the teacup. People don't understand the Tibetan bowls and stuff. That stuff is real. You know
And
what I'm
they
saying?
know that.
Yeah.
And they know that. So
Yeah.
it's not that they don't see us as men. They know how powerful we are. We don't.
Yeah.
That's what the truth is.
They're banking us not waking up to everything.
That-
Yes.
They want
see,
us
but
to
that's
keep
why
it
Dormant.
That's why they keep us distracted.
right.
That's why they keep
It's still written in the Constitution.
Yes,
How they
it
see,
is.
how we are portrayed.
3/5.
Mhm.
So if we did win anything,
3/5.
that
We're
was
gonna
the
go change
first
that
thing.
concept.
Right. Hold on, y'all. Pause real quick. Shout out to Sam Blue and Jesse Gibbs. They both been responding back and forth. I tried to put your notes up there for a little bit, but it was giving me bad feedback, so I had to jump back off. So sorry, guys, if y'all stop me on the screen real quick. But they were like notating with every topic, so I just wanted to shout you all out. Thank y'all for hanging with us in a cool spot.
I didn't catch it. I'm not looking at my phone. What were some of the things they said?
They were just saying, like, like our land, and how, like, they taught us Malcolm X was a terrorist, and they put these things to keep us sedated, to keep us like, oh no, he's bad, MLK is good, only go this way, don't go that way. They wanted to hurt us. And so yeah. And then Sam was over here like, preach, y'all doing it, preach, all right.
Kat, what you gonna say?
Oh, in regards to the frequencies, and I know that's not a part of the main topics that we are, but the frequencies are in so many things, and their main things is our food that they're doing, and then if we don't pay attention to the things that is one of the most simplest ways they're able to attack us.
That's
is
right.
through how we are ingesting and putting in our body, because the first frequency is that food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people
But everything
that's
is food though.
Yeah.
Everything
And
is
that's
food.
funny that
Your entertainment,
Yeah.
your
Yes.
people you interact with,
Right.
all of
Yes.
that is food. So
Yes.
anything we consume is food. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, they try to keep us operating at low vibration
Yeah.
frequency, so that they're
Our
using these
music.
resources
Yes.
to trigger these emotions to keep us there, so that we don't.
So
It's
just
for
real-
the sake of time, it's 2:00 now.
Oh,
But for the sake of time, because we usually go to 2, and then we do the open mic from 2 to 3.
okay.
But we can keep this going since we didn't have like a headline right now.
Gotcha.
Even though all of us are poets.
Yeah.
Even though we all poets,
Yeah.
you
All
know.
these dope, all these dope
Poets, you
artists.
know.
Why you
And
keep
I
including me
always-
on that?
Because you're gonna be a poet,
Right.
right? You a poet by default, and you gonna live hustle. Okay.
So we'll run 30 more minutes, and we'll do the last 30 minutes. Do some poetry if y'all.
Okay.
Oh, Travis is coming back.
Who?
Travis. Yeah, he was on the slide.
No. That was a.
It was just an open mic reel.
Oh,
Oh, I thought he was on it because he was.
Nah, That was just an old performance he did here.
Yeah, I remember because I was here.
Just-
And I said he was gonna
She was like, I want that poem again. Run it back. So, Brother Travis,
Real quick.
Run that back.
Yeah.
Run it
Real
back.
quick, just to cap off that frequency conversation, because we were talking about the awakening in the movement, we talking about civil rights movement, and we talking about our people, you know, and culture and coming back to who they are. And a lot of us are coming back to our practices of stones and crystals and sage and stuff like that. Be careful with where you get your stuff from, because people put their frequencies in this stuff, knowing that we're turning back to this stuff to get in your sage and stuff.
Gotta cleanse
Yeah.
them before you put them on.
That too. That too.
I don't ever
That
do
too. That too. Yeah, you make sure you do that too. But I don't even, if I can't figure out the source of where I got it from, because I'm a like you said, I'm a clean and recharge it myself. But if I know that source that I got it from at least came from, you know what I'm saying, a good frequency source,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know it was good intentions put in it before I got to cleanse it and recharge it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So let's get to the next question, right?
Okay.
So the backdrop to the next one. The New York City school boycott, referred to as Freedom Day, was a large-scale boycott and protest against segregation in New York City public school system, which took place on February 3rd, 1964.
Right.
Students and teachers walked out to highlight a deplorable condition at public schools in the city, and demonstrators held rallies demanding school integration. It has been described as the largest civil rights protest of the 1960s, involving nearly 500,000 participants. So the topic here is school choice. What are your thoughts?
It was my thoughts is it was the biggest mistake we've made outside of our culture and languages and spiritual practices being removed. That was the biggest mistake. I understand why it happened. We thought we were going to receive the education we need to gain certain jobs to be able to provide for our homes and our family. But what it actually did was it allowed them to educate us and to program our minds
And
completely.
separate us.
And so you touched on the movie Get Out earlier. Like most of us are black in face, but it's their psyche that they enter
Ooh.
into our mind.
Rewind. Rewind that poet.
so
And you
we-
can't. That's crazy part. You
we-
can't tell me they ain't.
We operate like them. We think, walk, talk, act, operate like them,
Yes.
but we're black in face.
Wow.
So that movie, that was one of the profound messages to that
Yeah.
movie, Get Out. Get them out of your
Yeah.
psyche.
Yeah.
Go back to your indigenous ways. And listen, what works for them works for them, but it does not work for us.
We're not the same. We're not the same. And
So-
just to piggyback off what she was just
Yeah.
saying, that whole get out thing with being in our minds, you know, they a lot of them don't realize that it's like that until they get faced with that situation where they have to come to the realization of what they really are. Segregation and integration of schools. That was like she said, the second biggest mistake of our existence. Not just in schools, because it stopped us from more seeds being planted like the Tulsa, Oklahomas. It stopped us from establishing us, and it gave them control of our minds at an early age. And it was, like we said earlier, a lot of this stuff, the peaceful movement was out of fear. That was based out of fear as well, because we had just came out of an era where they was keeping us from reading and writing, you know, so it was fear of lack of knowledge. So in not having the resources to actually be able to educate ourselves in what's still at that moment an unknown place, because all we've known is serving. All we've known is being product. All we've known is being pawns. How can I educate myself if I don't know how to educate myself? You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of them adults that were still trying to learn how to read and write at that time. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of them was a lot of things like, you know, the voting laws. They had it. You know, they tried the whole. You know, you had to pass the test, the IQ test. You know what I'm saying, with the voting and stuff like that. That was to
Weed out.
keep voting numbers a certain way.
right.
But that's not to say they weren't letting uneducated people vote just to be able to control that vote
Yeah.
as well. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
And the
If I don't know why I'm voting that way, if you ain't broke it down to me,
Right.
but you gave me something to think it's a good thing,
Mhm.
all you know what I'm saying? That's all I know.
Mhm.
Because I don't know no other. I wasn't educated to know anything else. I'm a blank slate that you pretty much can write. And at that time, that's what a lot of what it really was.
So I'm gonna let you go ahead.
I was going to say, and also to add what he just said, the incarceration rates, because you can't, as a felon, you can't vote.
Right.
So that incarceration rates increase and also removed a lot of us from being able to vote too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. So let me go into my next question. That was a good segue,
Mm.
right? Identity politics is a political approach wherein people of a particular race, nationally, nationality, religion, gender, sexual orientation, social backgrounds, social class, or other identifying factors develop political agendas that are based upon these identities. Identity politics is deeply connected to the idea that some groups in society are oppressed, and begins with the analysis of that oppression. The term is used primarily to describe political movements in Western societies covering nationalist, multicultural, women's rights, civil rights, and LGBTQ plus communities. So racial identity politics, from the Democratic Party, was it good or bad?
Go in, poet.
Give me an example
It
of
always-
a racial.
Give
me an example
What
of
he was
Having
saying.
to identify yourself
So-
with the
Democrats.
Oh,
So-
yeah,
right,
having to
so-
identify yourself.
Okay,
You know
got
what
it.
I'm saying?
You
With,
come
you
from
know,
a place of
Yeah.
oppression
Got
that relate to other people that
Okay.
believe in the same political movement.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
So, if we really looked at the whole political party and how blacks were from the beginning, we were never Democrat.
Thank
We
you.
were
Yeah.
always
Thank you.
Republican.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
That's good. Yeah. That's what really all this boils down to.
Tell it.
Yeah,
Tell
nah,
it.
That's
Tell
what all
it.
this boils down to. Go ahead.
the Democrat Party didn't even want us involved in anything that they
Not
had
at all.
going on.
Not at all.
And
Not
so,
at all.
how we get looped in to being their party is
the documentary I told y'all about before we started 1619.
Yeah.
They touch on that in the second episode, which we just started watching. We didn't get finished it, but they touch on that in the second episode and how it was a change.
1619 on Hulu, you
It was a
guys.
change between the Democratic and the Republican Party, and how they pretty much classified the Republican Party. Somewhere it changed in certain parts. Like they mentioned Greenwood, Mississippi, because they were real heavy and they didn't want to change over. Like it was still where people, when you had to walk through their voting, like it was still like, you know how we line up on the side for parades?
Mhm.
They were lined up on the side, like they watched the parade, but they were sitting there with their Confederate flags
Mhm.
and, you know what I'm saying, shouting their obscenities and stuff like that, you know, making the people uncomfortable as they walked.
Mhm.
That was probably the minimum of what happened
Right.
in those situations.
Mm.
But
Mm.
I just
It was
lost.
around radical
I just lost.
reconstruction.
I just lost where I was.
Come back.
Oh yeah, the Democrat and Republican Party. Yeah, they changed it to where the Republican Party was supposed to be more for the white person or the Caucasian person at that time that
Mhm.
believed in the system
As it existed
as it existed
before Reconstruction.
right before Reconstruction, right?
And the radical reconstruction that came in because now there was once they put the laws in place, there was no enforcement of the laws. And that's
Right.
why radical reconstruction happened, because now they're saying we got to hold these people accountable. And all these Southern people who had lost the Civil War as a result of that, now they were trying to kind of sort of fight back against that and say, we're trying to keep these old ways here. And it was in that mix of trying to force them to abide by that and actually free people and give them their freedom, instead of them doing what they were doing was finding new ways to enslave them, even though they were
Mhm.
supposed to be free,
Mhm.
and forcing that, and them trying to fight back and do that. That's sort of how that whole party shifting
Mhm.
came about, because then they start to meld with their own people out in mostly in the South, but outside the South. And it's that whole shift. It's sort
That-
of a weird, really like sort of weird shift, But it's the psychology of things that you change and you shift and you confuse people and you make them think that they're aligning with something that's supposed to be in their benefit that really is not.
Hold on, y'all. We got a couple comments.
Democratic Party.
Hold on. We got a couple comments. All right, guys. Sorry. It won't let me post on the screen anymore. Hold on. Sorry, guys. It jumped me out. No, hold on. Yeah, keep me out. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Okay. So the comments that we got thus far on this last part, I think it was the 3-part segue. The one was actually from our last one when we were talking about frequencies as well, and it says we are walking instruments. You are what you let in, you and through you. That was by Cook. Hey, Cook. Also, Stan Blue said Black people are used for one thing in America: their vote. Once they receive it, Black people are now convinced that all other issues are more important than their own.
Right.
Jessica said all the parties are under the same umbrella. Cook said we gave up our sovereignty in November. Doesn't matter who's in office now.
Right. And that's what I was about to. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's what I was going to touch on. Right.
Yep.
This system is what it is. Democrat, Republican is two sides of the same coin.
Right.
And we have to understand that. So when they do things like Clinton, you know, I keep hot sauce in my bag and all that stuff.
Right.
You know, I've had conversations. All of them have crimes against our people. All of them. There's not one that is exempt from it.
No.
You see?
No.
And so it's
no.
Even the crime one.
That's what I'm saying. All of them. All of them.
So we turn a blind eye.
But what happens is they'll do stuff like they'll show Kamala walking off.
We
did.
She
got the butters.
See,
she got the butters on.
This is
that's what I'm saying. That's a problem that we are. We gravitate towards the flash instead of understanding that none of these people. None of them.
And see, that's the problem that they had with Donald Trump. Not to go back because he was unpredictable in that sense. Like most of everybody we named pandered to a certain group. Donald Trump pandered to everybody. So you didn't know who he was for, what he was against, and that was the main problem for them. That's why they put him in the light that they did, because Donald Trump was only who he always been.
We watched him for years.
He know who he built, what he built off of what he got from his father. He know that, but at the same time, he went into that understanding that there's no division in this. They just got y'all thinking there's separate lines of Democratic, Republic, Independent, Liberal, Conservative. So if y'all gonna think that, I'm a pander to all y'all. And that's what he did. Like, you don't, and it's no different than what they do behind closed doors. He just did it openly.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you have some of them that claim Democrat, but they really Republican. Just the Democrats that want them in their position is going to give them more campaign money at that time.
Well,
if you look at everything that we've been talking about, all of this is going to happen under the Democratic rule.
That's what I'm saying. So, like I said, they cater to us, making it seem like trying to grab our favor. But if you look into the histories of all of them, they all have crimes against our people.
Which is confusing, which is a contradiction.
And so, but people don't do the history. They don't look into that, and they get excited. Okay, yeah, we going with him because no, you haven't seen his history. His hands ain't no cleaner than the other guy who you hate because you believe that he represents this. They all represent the same thing.
Same thing.
You know
okay, y'all. So
same thing.
With this point, let's go into this other question. It's probably gonna be our last wrap-up question because we close. Okay. Hip hop is a culture and an art movement that was created by African Americans, Latino Americans, Caribbean Americans in the Bronx, New York City. Hip hop culture is characterized by 4 key elements: rapping, DJing, turntablism, breakdancing, and graffiti. That was definitely more than 4. That was 5. I was like, wait, they put DJ and turntablism together. Okay. Hip hop culture, good or bad for our people?
The reason they split up DJ and turntablism though, because not every DJ can turntable.
Oh, ain't that sad?
It is.
She was
It is.
That's a good
It
point.
is because it used to be a day. It used to be a day
You
where
had to be both.
if you couldn't scratch and turntable, you weren't considered a DJ.
Right.
I
like
say,
that
I say, as it was great for our people because it allowed us to get the things that we could not release out and show it in a creative manner.
Right.
But you know, they understand the power of influence, and so they took that thing that they knew was influencing the entire world,
Such a powerful
the entire world, and they corrupted it, right? So now they're paying these artists to put out music that is destructive to us.
Straight garbage.
Is destructive to us. They're paying them the highest dollars, and they're accepting it. So as it is now, it is destructive. As it was a great thing for our people.
Yeah.
It was a great thing for our people.
And to pick up where she left off, it's funny that that it came about like that. That it's so destructive over here. The mainstream artists is what they put in front of us.
Right.
Because when you go to a lot of these other places and you experience their hip hop culture, it's what we consider an underground.
That's right.
It's not underground to them.
Right.
Because that's their mainstream. Like they don't necessarily like you got some of them that listen to the higher ups. I don't necessarily want not, you know what I'm saying, the mainstream artists, but they have a higher underground following, that rawness, that realness over there in their hip hop culture.
Right.
And the powers to be understood just how powerful hip hop. I mean, you literally have, man, you can go all the way to the deep recesses of Asia as the perfect example, like b-boying. Impalas on 64s. I'm talking about they got a whole culture over there that movies like Tokyo Drift just sent, you know what I'm saying? They gave flashes of it, but it's like they'll argue up and down over your hip hop and know it better than we will over here because they've took it and they understood that beautifulness of what it once was, that voice that it gave somebody, that speech, that creativity, that way to be able to express yourself in a manner that you couldn't express yourself, you know what I'm saying, previously. Like hip hop just the whole culture with everything that came with dancing, music, rapping, you know what I'm saying, the block parties, before it turned into something nasty, it was something that was undeniable. You know, it was
Right before you, real quick. Jesse said these Ashkenazi Jews run the music and the media.
No, you might not want to say that on.
No, I'll take it back.
Tell them, yeah, you might not want to say that.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Now, I'm just saying.
You can't talk about
people
hip hop and music without talking about vibration.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And frequency.
Like that one?
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because now I produce.
Mhm.
You gotta know what's going on with producers.
Mhm.
They're now having producers who understand frequency. There are certain frequencies that are being laced into production
right.
that gets you keyed in on the music, and then the message is put into you subconsciously. So that's why, you know, with labels, you gotta have, when they do their contract, you gotta have so many words. You gotta say this so many times. It is in the contract. You gotta mention this so many times. You gotta mention this word so many times. This is a part of your contract as an artist. Even if you don't want to say it, you've got to say it because you're under contract. And if you don't do it, then you breach your contract.
That's
See what I'm saying?
That's what we would simply label as bubblegum music.
Yeah.
That's what we end up labeling as bubblegum
Right.
music. You hear them songs that it's more so the beat entrances you. So you don't really feel like you're listening to the lyrics. But just like a child that's in their room when adults are talking, they may be playing with their toys,
But they listen.
but they're still
sublimination
subconsciously
is there.
picking up what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So even though you might think you're tuning out those lyrics, subconsciously you're still feeding yourself
Playing
that
with your
food
psyche.
that
It's
you
like
shouldn't
listening
be.
to the holiday music at Christmas time. Like I don't care to sing Christmas thing music. That's just my thing, right? But you find if I don't heard
And the frequency. They
Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
for me, a big example would have been Travis Scott before the whole Astro World thing happened.
Mhm.
And she'll tell you, I had this thing about Travis Scott, like, and it was a couple of songs that offer energy wise, it gets you hyped up. But when you start to break down that, when you start to feel that frequency in a different way, and you start to break down the lyrics, like his music for me, even before that whole Astro World thing, like it was just something dark about his frequency and his music. And then for that to happen, it was only like I hated that happen, you know what I'm saying? But for me, it was like the universe. It was like confirmation from the universe. You know what I'm saying? It was like the pretty much, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's, and another example is, which the black men in the room can attest to it. Growing up, being a black man, you listen to a lot of that gangster music. We walk around in the streets and we mean mug each other and don't know why we doing it. No reason at all.
We talking
No
about
reason at all. I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying?
And I work in the
meet
corporate job.
a complete stranger.
Right.
But you see these other cultures. You see these other cultures. Yeah, you know, I told y'all earlier, I'm a big person to connecting the dots. You see these other cultures, like when I used to be on public transportation, catching the bus and stuff, you see these other cultures get up there, Hispanics for the biggest example, and they talk to you. You know they don't know each other, but they get up there and talk to each other like they know each other for 10 to 15 years, like they know each other for. We get on the bus and we mean mugging. We trying to set up a bravado that's not necessarily us, and a lot of times it comes from that powers to be in that music, that frequency. Because I feel like I got to put on this certain facade. I feel like I got to put on this certain bravado. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody taking me as a man. I'm a man. You know what I'm saying? I'm a lion. I'm an animal. You know what I'm saying? I'm all that. You know what I'm saying? Right. All the time. And that's you know what I'm saying?
It changes when you become aware of that. Like for me, I go out and you know I'm different places. I'm kind of random. You know what I'm saying? But I'm different places and I run across men all the time, especially us black men. You know, and it's disheartening because it's exactly what you said. I'll pass somebody or we're about to pass each other, and they mean muggy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Now you know back in the street, like that was the thing for me when I was younger.
Right.
But then it's like I'm grown now.
Yeah, man.
Well, we're not 34.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so now like when I pass somebody that's mean mugging, I go ahead and greet the brother. Hey, what's up, Will? How you doing? You know what I mean? And
just like that.
Just like
that. How you doing?
Breaking that frequency.
Just like that. I do.
And it's sad though because it's like
their reaction. A lot of them react like
people mirror. They automatically mirror you. So like if you walk past somebody and they smiling, you're gonna just smile like, why not just
That's
smile?
what they
right,
do too.
right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so that's what happened. He changed that energy up just that quick.
Yeah.
Out of that, you know,
We got
that
another
toxic masculinity to look.
down.
Right. You don't have to.
All right, y'all, we got another comment. Cook said, with great power comes great responsibility. Hip hop is the most universal influence in the world behind currency. Every part of hip hop is a spiritual ritual that can be tracked back before Western influence. How you use it is defined. And also, our intentional brotherhood was our superpower, which is why it was the first thing they attacked.
yes. And I was actually about to. It's funny that comment actually segued to what I was about to say because it goes back way before Western civilization was established with the beat of the drums because that's the base of hip hop. Like if you ain't got that percussion in there, you know what I'm saying, that snare of any sort, and even now it's even so that lighter hi-hat or whatever. But if you don't have some kind of percussion in there whatsoever, which comes from those African drums, it don't work. Which that's even if we talk about our music outside of hip hop, when you talk about other musics that is communicative, expressive like that to everybody, you think of your reggaetons, your reggaes, your soca's, your music you do Zumba too, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Your carnival music, you know what I'm saying? That all comes from that percussion, together. That drum. And the second part of this comment about the black man, exactly, because which all the attacks have been to attack us first, not just the hip hop attack, because we are the head, not so much to say, because a lot of times when we say that, people think that we're putting our black women behind us. It's not that we're putting our black women behind us.
In a place of protection.
It's right.
Space to protect.
Which we understand, the real black man understand that our energy derives from y'all. So it can't be a matter of putting y'all behind us. But they understand that y'all look to us for y'all inspiration and y'all motivation when y'all get tired or y'all energy, because y'all are the higher energy vessel.
Don't give them too much, baby.
And we are reflections of each other. So
Right.
if you're not
Right.
in a good condition,
Right.
I'm not in a good condition,
Right.
and vice versa.
Right. But
Right.
whereas I am the plug, y'all are the outlet.
Mm.
Y'all are from which
The
I
receiving
see
end.
my
Ooh.
right.
He's
But what
gonna
they
blow my
understand
way.
that if I disconnect that plug from the outlet,
Yeah.
the whole system, the whole thing don't work. You know what I'm saying? It don't work. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they attack the man first. Because if the outlet is always going to be the energy source is always going to be there. But if I don't allow him to tap into it in the manner that he's supposed to tap into it, he'll never know his full power. Whew.
Y'all, this build today, guys. I mean, I know y'all virtual and stuff,
Right.
but that's right.
People.
That was the
Thank you for
moment.
coming
It
and
was like
joining
us
us.
drop the mic, like we done it. But no, for real, that really did segue into the finale of this segment, and that was beautiful. I appreciate all of y'all coming today and sitting and kicking it with me and Limo. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of times individually we've had different conversations and we have these bills, and these are the bills that people need to be tuned into, need to be able to feel comfortable to talk about. To how do we like our call of action? Because a lot of times we have so many conversations, but nobody has a call of action to know like what do I do next. So if I had to leave everyone with a small piece of advice, your 60-second elevator pitch. What's your call to action to our community?
Let me start.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I got you. Mine would be study the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah. Watch how they move.
I see where you
Study what they're doing. Watch how whatever it is that we're fighting for. But watch how they unify and stick together. They beyond that. They just way beyond that.
I know you got
That's
a
a that's a whole nother podcast, because there's a reason they surpassed us in the manner.
Yeah, and they got mass support too.
That's
Ooh,
but
man,
that's
you don't go-
Yeah, we
but
can't go in there.
you got to
Listen.
understand though. You got to understand though. The powers to be been playing chess for a long time, but they keeping us playing checkers.
We understand that.
Yeah.
We understand that.
That's a rook
But,
horse move. You know what I'm saying?
That's a chess move. But at the same time, watch how they unify together. They defend each other.
You're right about that.
They
Yeah.
speak up for each other. They're like whatever you need in the LGBT, the multiple letter community, they got it. You know what I'm saying? And they're unified. They know somebody in their community needs it. They're there for their own people. You know what I'm saying? That's all. That's what I want to leave y'all with. That's all.
So, the question again?
Your
Our
60-second
call to action,
elevator
pitch.
speech, your call
So-
of action to our community.
So often we feel like, we lack a thing, and we don't lack anything. We literally have everything that we need within us, right? The power is in our unity. If it wasn't, they wouldn't have tried so hard to separate us, right?
Absolutely.
And so we have to look into all the tactics and everything that they use. It is old, but the thing is, they keep using it because it works.
Right.
We have not learned from that yet, and so it's all about synergizing, right? All about coming together with our strengths. We don't have to have all the answers, but guess what? I know you got a knowledge and resources. I got knowledge and resources. She got knowledge. You got knowledge and resources. You got knowledge that are different from mine.
Yeah.
So what it's about is coming together, bringing the resources and the knowledge that we do have, and having it all fit together like a puzzle until we create the things that we need to create. We have the resources to do this, all within us, right? And we have to place fear to the side. Fear is crippling, and that's been a part of what's keeping us from moving forward. Oh, and your connection to your spirit team. Keep the Most High and keep your ancestors and spirit guides close to you.
Yes.
Period. Period.
I'm on the phone, Sean. I don't even know if I have anything to say after that, quite honestly. Because the connection for me is always going to be the same. I stand on the same premise, and I've said this on other podcasts, and I've said this to some of you individually. The connection and the value is in the family and the structure you create and you start at home. We can go out and vote all of these things that we want to vote on, but at the end of the day, it comes back to what you do with yourself every single day. Yourself, the loved ones, the children that you make, the people in your household. And so that feeds out into all of these avenues that have been talked about thus far. So start with that connection with yourself and with your family. What can I do right here so that we can multiply that and we can build these pieces of unity that Miss Landy, thank you. I'm sorry, Miss Landy spoke about. So yeah, thank you.
So I'm gonna piggyback off what Laquan LaShawn said. I gotta call that all the time. When I think of your name, I always say that, Laquan LaShawn. I think that is self-healing, like starting with yourself, because if we know that we are broken in certain areas and we continue to ignore it, then you become part of the problem because you're not being truthful with yourself. So once you start doing that self-work to truly break down whatever barriers you have in yourself, literally sitting with yourself, you know what I'm saying? That's something I lack a lot of times. And y'all, my tribe, they're very honest with me, like, girl, go sit down. You're doing too much, okay? But truly spending that time with yourself so that you can evolve, and then you'll have clear direction. The more somebody told me that you start moving stuff out that ain't supposed to be there, the clearer the vision becomes. So starting with self and truly building with self before you go outward.
That's good.
Yeah, so everybody talked really well on, self. But if you don't know where to start, find someone that you already know that's in the direction that you're wanting to go.
Absolutely.
And mentorship, right. Get as much knowledge as you can and then start seeking for yourself. Put yourself in the position. But just go seek. Seeking is, you'll find so many things. Your mind will be open to so many different things they've been trying to hide from us. That's just right in a book.
The Black Book Experience.
In a book. It's in a book, y'all, and they're hiding it in plain sight. So that's what I just leave for you. Read a book. Read a goddamn book, as Ludacris would say, and look for mentorship.
Come on, 20 seconds. Come on, 2 minutes.
Y'all stupid. Well, y'all already touched on a lot of key things. So for me, I'm gonna take this moment. Not to my Black women, because I love my Black queens and I love my Black women, but I need to speak to my brothers right now in this moment. To be able to mobilize and get to where we want to get. They spoke about self-healing and healing any traumas and whatnot. And for us Black men, we have a very hard time doing that. We're very egotistical for no reason. Whether it's a good ego or bad ego, an ego can deter you and keep you from a lot of things without you realizing it. Ego is what powers the bravado. Ego is what has us thinking that we don't need to open up or talk to anybody, when it's really a state of weakness. When we as Black men open up about the traumas that we really experience day to day from this world, whether people are going to authentically listen or not, just the power of opening up. Eventually you're going to find somebody that's going to listen to you, but you have to be able to open up. It's so many things that we hold in that keep us from being truly who we are. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure there's Black women that's feeling the same way about themselves. But right now I'm specifically talking to my Black brothers, because not just our Black women need us, but our whole community needs us. And when we say that, it seems like a lot, but we are the foundation of this, whether we per se like it or not. Our shoulders was meant to bear this weight. But in bearing weight, you have to know when to take it off and put it down to give yourself a rest. So in order for us to be able to mobilize as a community, And I know it seems like the fingers always get pointed back at us, but we're all not. The black women aren't without their issues. Don't give me that's for those people who don't believe there's a such thing as feminine toxicity. There's a such thing as feminine toxicity, folks. There's a such thing. But neither one of them is right, masculine or feminine. And it shouldn't be a thing of a conversation of an argument. And this all stems from about a month ago, same in the car, same K97.5. They were having a conversation of which is more detrimental to the system, the educated black man or the educated black woman. Why is that even a discussion?
What?
If you understand that they're talking about our power as individuals, what do you think they're going to say when we sync up? Black men, I need you to understand that our black women are not our mothers. They are our journey supporters.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
What church are you preaching at?
Let me tell you, my husband has. Let me tell you,
You better talk, girl.
baby, he ain't ordained, but he be laying that word down. Okay, spirit leads him always. I appreciate it.
That's good.
Appreciate it.
All right now.
Good
Yes.
word, bro. Good word. So at this point, man, I guess that'll wrap it all up.
Absolutely.
Spoken word pieces.
Oh, you about to, who's spitting their pieces
Who's
first?
speaking?
We have a room for
Why everybody looking at me up? Everybody looking at me first.
Why I just saw your shoes though? They cute. I like them.
you philosophy. Go ahead.
Come on,
Philosophy.
While he look his up, I'm not gonna do a piece. I'm gonna do a disclaimer because I don't want anybody taking. Look, Landy said that integration was. I'm saying the way that it occurred because it was forced. It was forced on their part because they didn't want us in those spaces. It was forced on our part because we felt that's what we needed to do
Yep.
to succeed. Right? I'm saying the way that it happened was the worst thing that occurred to us.
Right.
It wasn't on a way that we embraced each other in a natural, loving space. So before anybody try to use my words against me,
That's right.
there you go.
Let 'em
Right.
By the way,
That was my piece.
full disclaimer, everything stated on today's podcast was personal opinions, guys, okay? These are our personal opinions that we have a right and we are entitled to have. Thank you for sharing space with us, and we're about to kick off our poetry segment, okay? All right, great. Go ahead.
All right. This piece ain't got no title. It's fitting for the moment. Our vulnerability is quiet kept. But kings, we are nothing more than glass houses, see-through closed windows just appearing to be painless, removing all pictures from walls, erasing memories of guilt, frameless. Guilty conscience gets crickets when it whispers Jiminy, nameless. Altering spirits without the PU of the church stench, stainless. Cupid too busy watching our lost souls wander, aimless. Appearing to be empty, nothing, voiceless, motionless. But really, a king lost in silent hope, hopelessly pondering, searching, mind racing, thinking, mulling over having absolute power over my greatness. Shoulders like titanium, but heavy is the head that holds tons of thoughts. No need to jazz it up. How could something so heavy be so silent? Barely treading water in my own mind. Intuition guides the ship. So I'm determined if I land in the middle of nowhere, my essence will not be bottled up, but crash they shores destined to be heard. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody is around, does it make a sound? Are my thoughts reckless percussion or a march to the beat of my own drum? My mind can only know once the heart feels them first. There was proof that a flower can bloom in a dark room. Just have to trust the process of maturation. A silent king is absolute power.
So we only had time for everything. Well, that wasn't bad.
It wasn't. We got time.
We got time.
Go.
We got 15 more minutes.
You go.
No, you
I ain't
go.
got nothing here. I ain't got
Who
nothing
said I
here.
got some?
Because I know you got some.
Laquan.
Laquan, what's wrong? You got some?
Oh, wait, right.
Hold on.
Well, y'all know, so I don't know why. Like, I like literally just want to keep doing this black man piece. So y'all can get it again, okay? Because I just.
But I love your black man piece.
Okay, let me sit up, guys. I still like that.
That's fire.
All right, guys. Y'all know I'm silly, so nothing's gonna change. Black man. In Spanish, hombre negro. In French, homme noir. In Creole, neg noir. Whatever they call you, just know that you are a king. Adjust your crown. I embody an apology of everyone who ever made you feel inadequate. For every time you felt your emotions weren't valid or as if you were not enough. This is a session of Ayana Fix My Life. So let's get it out. Let me dig deep and expose your tattered heart. The bruising from follicles being forced down, emotions can sometimes cause a seesawing with the longevity of your relationships as you attempt to relation without the ship, depreciating your crown and sowing your seed to relieve a temporary depression. Ensued by social media popularity, you're doing it for the gram, for the hearts, the likes, the shares. It's modern day insanity. Then voyaging a pretentious truth with no compass, deciding not to follow down mental health passage, finding instant gratification and physical thrills. I see the facade, your defense mechanism. I bypass your plastered smile and see the pain, so take rest in my bosom. Let's inhale these positive affirmations. I am enough. I have purpose. I have the power to change my circumstances. See, as a youth, they assisted in drying up your internal rivers with their lies. Exhale the filth that they've implanted. Real men don't cry. Emotions equal weakness. No tears, little soldier. Let out any insecurity that they've nestled deep within your core. Let's weep in the shower until you're ready to face self. We can agree that the steam caused precipitation to fall from your tear ducts until you're ready to be vulnerable. So black man, hombre negro, homme noir, neg noir. There's an I love you sitting between parched lips because you are enough. So back straight, head tall. No, back straight, head high, sitting tall, crown right. Just know until you can cry, I'll cry for you. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I got one.
You got it.
I got one. This one's called When It Hurts So Bad. This is a new piece.
Okay, new piece.
So it's,
I didn't want to say bad word, guys.
right?
Hype it up. Hey.
So this is called When It Hurts So Bad. This says this. What if the signs we ignored were the doors left open from the chores we avoided?
Rewind. Say what?
What if
Okay.
the signs we ignored were the doors left open from the chores we avoided? What if 90% of the friends we were meant to be, 90% of the friends we met were meant to be single-serving friends in public places and not permanent placeholders on our mental shelves? I mean, what if our separation was designed to focus on the experience, how to glean, and to grow away from one another? Notice how the key word is grow. I mean, what if our lack of identity is the reason we're left in seasonal affective disorders year round?
Okay.
What if the lack of love we've experienced from our parents were to show us what not to be like? You know, like what if our financial gains and losses was to show us our strengths and weaknesses, aka profits and mismanagements? What if we were chosen to go through the many things we've endured because it was specifically designed for us individually? What if the hurt we felt by somebody else was our mind and bodies finally falling in alignment with the splendor of the universe?
Not the splendor of the universe.
What if this was all God's doing to free us from our arrested development? Would all this still be worth it? Or would it stop the hurt so bad? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, new piece.
Yeah. Okay, new piece.
I
What?
think
Ew.
Landy.
Yeah.
Landy.
I don't have any pieces.
I ain't got no
Yeah.
pieces.
I don't have any
CC.
pieces, but you know, it's you know,
Come on, boy.
I don't have a piece.
Okay.
I don't actually. So I write when I'm inspired for myself, but I never. I never share my pieces, so I don't actually have any pieces.
Okay. Understood.
You know, But as my piece, I will, touch on something Free was saying earlier about the healing for ourselves. The more we heal ourselves, the better we become for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And so it always starts with us first. So that's my piece. Heal. And if you don't know where to start with your healing, connect with other people.
Yeah.
We're all going through a healing process. It doesn't end anywhere. It's continual. So,
You can't show up for nothing else if you're gonna show up for yourself.
absolutely.
Yes.
So,
That's good.
that's my piece.
Okay.
I got it.
You got a piece, TC? No, not today. Krista. What she said? Oh no. Cat.
It's some old stuff. It's just a reflection piece.
Let's
You know what
go.
I'm saying?
New to me.
It would be. It's called Rest in Me.
Mhm.
It's me, with nothing left to bear but the scars that lead to gateways of my pastimes.
Mm-hmm.
Bruises from battles of 1,000 journeys with self, looking for validations because I lost the purpose of who I am.
Mm.
Who am I? Flirting with death with these troubling waters. My insecurities pulling me down with like anchors. Anger filling my lungs, making it hard to breathe. Strongholds tossing me back and forth, taunting me. It is easier to drown in my thoughts of uncertainties than fighting against the raging waters of me against me. Even harder to learn to accept myself when life puts me in a category box as easy as checking off grocery lists.
Mm.
Fuck you're flawless. I didn't wake up like this. I wasn't a glass figurine. I have been broken. Ooh, hold on, excuse me, y'all. It's been a while since I read this poem. Fuck you're flawless. I didn't wake up like this. I was fragile glass that had been broken. Fused itself back together with self-care and love, confidence, recreating the arts of me. I preferred stained glass over crystal clear any day because the characteristics that it holds. Broken glass art, glistening like jewels in the moonlight. My shimmering colors revealing my jagged edges, letting you know it's more to me than a picture of just, it is more to me than just the pretty that you see in a frame. All of my essence, it is more to the picture than just me. A pretty frame that holds all of my essence. Look past my vessel and take a moment to rest in my art. Me.
I have three statements.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
And
your
it
piece.
sums up. A wrong definition will take you to a wrong destination.
I need you to say that when
Say
again.
that
'Cause they
loud.
don't,
Come on.
you don't
I'm
understand.
gonna stay back here.
Into
I
the
need you to
say that
microphone.
again.
Into the
I
microphone.
need you to say that one again.
A wrong definition will take you to a wrong destination.
Mhm.
That's one. To be misidentified disqualifies you from whom you truly are.
Mm.
Two, information, revelation without application causes frustration. That's three.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna read it.
Read it, girl.
Oh, she done pulled one out.
I couldn't find it at first. 'cause it
This is
was-
a breakout right here. This is a breakout.
That's it. That's it.
Right here.
All right, let me sit up because this one always takes me to a place. Okay. All right. I think back on my past and it all runs through my mind. But I have to look up and ahead at this mountain that seems too steep to climb. My backpack is full, but like the mantra designed, there is no item in it that can be left behind. My children are in there, so it's clear why I speak of going over the hill, through the woods, across the deep, and onward towards the peak, because climbing this mountain is always a feat. But there will be no fame, no glory, no news article, no photos for the masses, no paparazzi, no best-selling book to tell the story of how or why I lasted. Just me and this digital pen to write this story for me to read again and again, because this is my best-selling book, my news article, my 6 o'clock headline reel from my own private viewing to display and replay to remind me that my children are depending on me. And now included in that is my grandbaby. All depending on me. I laugh in my head. The woman who grew up alone, having so many broken spiritual bones that it seems like it was a miracle of all miracles to even bring forth life from my womb, because I carried yes, carried past tense, carry so many wounds that were never bandaged too soon. And in too many places, I covered up the scars so that, like the TV show, it would be without any traces. But I have to move forward and I have to keep climbing because my survival is ahead of me and definitely not behind or beside me. So I move forward, used to nursing my own wounds because I have no time to stop because my children are in need. They need to breathe the fresh air that exists at the peak. So I shout to myself, let's get in, mama, better pick up the motherfucking speed. Climbing the educational ladder, climbing the corporate ladder, climbing the supermom ladder. Man, fuck all these damn ladders. I'm just trying to be me, living happily and peacefully because that's what I want my children to see.
Yes.
But I say I'm no poet. I just like to say I simply vibe poetically because every day, because you see, I'm just an everyday chick with everyday needs. But with each day I work to be stronger in my purpose and never backslide, despite the media's push to make this melanated queen operate in her masculine side. But baby, remaining in my femininity is where I work to permanently reside. So I found a new mountain to climb, and maybe I'll see you on the upside.
Yeah.
And she ain't no poet now. I ain't no poet.
And so she ain't no poet.
Right.
They got the single man here over
So once you start.
TC knows it. I think you recorded that for me. Yeah, I think so. Erica said it.
That is different when you're a parent. That's deep. Because it won't be no news articles or anything.
Oh yeah. Before we close out, I want you guys to share you guys' the
Social media handles.
Yeah, social media handles and the gun club.
The 2A info.
2A.
Oh, I'm not actually part of a club right now. I mean, it's the Second Amendment community. You know what I'm saying? It's real. I mean, it's a real thick community. It gets portrayed as only being a community for others, but we are very deep in this community. When I say us, melanated people, and it's growing in a very exponential rate, and it's growing in a very healthy way, regardless of what they portray on TV when it comes to melanated people and guns and stuff in certain areas and things that happen. There's a lot of us that's out here doing it the right way. It don't really get the light that it should, because it's a threat to the system, so to speak. We just want our place to be able to do what we do if we not hurt nobody or threaten, whether it's a gun, a compound bow, as you mentioned, your son is learning, throwing axes, you know what I'm saying, whatever it may be. But yeah, the 2A community is we constantly we try to go every week to shoot at the gun range. Besides going to the gun range, you know, there's actually active training. Yeah, we actually go right back here to Eagle One. Matter of fact, except for when I want to shoot my rifles. When I shoot my rifles, I take a ride to the country. But yeah, we're actually trying to get in the place where we are setting up monthly events for people that want to go, you know, experience if they ain't never shot, you know, shoot, teach them, you know what I'm saying, application, how to hold it, you know what I'm saying, getting the basics down, you know what I'm saying. A lot of people are apprehensive and afraid of guns and don't understand that it's a tool, no different than money is, you know what I'm saying. But you have to respect it, you know what I'm saying. Guns don't kill people. No matter how much they try this bull job, and this administration that's currently administering us is gonna push it heavy. I'm trying to tell y'all. Don't be surprised, because we just now got into February, and I think we're over 50 mass shootings already. Don't be surprised if that's not a consistent theme,
a norm
right now with what's trying to be pushed. You know what I'm saying? Everything is not always as it seems. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm only allowing you to see one part of the picture, and you're not necessarily seeing how that picture is made, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. All you're seeing is what I'm presenting to you.
Right.
So it's a threat upon one of our freedoms right now, with all the different sanctions and laws that's being changed with the applications of guns and stuff like that. And you're not really taking it away from everybody. You're putting it in position to where now it's back to a class thing, back to a financial thing. Because in order for people to get what they may deem as being powered enough to protect themselves, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, we all see those videos of those guys that literally be in their living room and literally the whole living room is covered with guns. Don't get me wrong, some people have a mental issue with guns that they may need to be checked out for. But that's not everybody that owns a firearm or owns multiple firearms. People have things to protect. You know what I'm saying? People have interests to protect, you know, and it's getting to a point where to be able to protect yourself in a manner with these higher powered weapons, it's becoming a financial thing, because they're taking away all this stuff to where you're pretty much going to need all these tax stamps to be able to operate. One tax stamp is $200. If I have a rifle that needs 4 tax stamps, that's $800. Not just talking about the cost of the rifle.
Just the taxes.
Just the taxes on the weapon. Not what I got to pay to get the weapon. Because once I pay to get the weapon, if it's not legally operational, in order for me to actually operate it, I then got to pay the government money to be able to do that. So if I ain't got those finances to do that, you know what I'm saying? Just because I'm in poverty or whatever, don't mean I shouldn't be capable of protecting what I got. If I ain't got enough but that pot, you know what I'm saying, the piston, so to speak. Yeah, but the whole 2A community, it's a whole community. We knowledge, we educate people, and I'm still learning this myself in the process of working on my instructors.
Share with everybody, like, y'all, social media that people want to reach out to y'all.
I'm king.cotton on Instagram and Facebook. It'll show up the same way. Together with Picking Cotton, Instagram and Facebook, the same way. That's PICK''N COTTEN. COTTEN. Autocorrect is gonna change it back to that O. Yeah. But it's EN. Yeah. It's EN.
My Instagram handle is it's cat. That's ITS_CCATT. You can find me there. And Facebook, it is Picking Cotton for our Facebook page together.
They're Poets for Hire, guys, just in case y'all need to know that, okay? They are a dope if you've never heard their set together. Yes. Y'all missing some greatness. Yes. I'm your co-host, Free the Poet. So Free the Poet NC on Facebook and Instagram. Also Miss Rita Free on Facebook. And the Cool Spot NC, okay, guys? You know, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Go like, subscribe, follow, you know, all the good stuff. TikTok. Okay, what's up there? Everything is the Cool Spot. So yeah, make sure you follow us there. Oh, sorry, real quick. These lovely frames, right? FY2.com. So FYTOO.com. And use your 15% off code, the Cool Spot NC, of course. Okay. They can do prescription, non-prescription. I have blue light blockers in all my frames because y'all know I like to be saucy. So y'all make sure y'all follow them as well and get some glasses with our discount code. There you go. How can we follow you, Laquan LaShawn?
You can follow me on my business pages, which I'm encouraging on all social medias except Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at The Black Book Experience. And same as my website, you can visit my website at theblackbookexperience.com.
All right. And I am on Facebook and Instagram as Landy Swain. That's LANDY. Swain, SWAIN.
I'm Lamore Decina, your host. You can follow me on the Cool Spot on Instagram, the Cool Spot NC _ on Instagram. The original got hacked. Something crazy happened to the original, but it's the Cool Spot NC _ on Instagram, the Cool Spot on TikTok, the Cool Spot on Twitter.
He live the Cool Spot, y'all.
The Cool Spot everywhere. The Cool Spot on
with
Google.
A K.
Mm-hmm. Google Cool Spot with a K, of course. Google us. If you guys have
review us.
Leave us a good review if you guys have been enjoying the content.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you guys know how algorithms work. Reviews work best. So the more reviews, the more views, and the more we be recommended to more people, then we can pack out this space and we can have a larger audience in attendance. And also the interactions were also great. So shout out to our audience. That's
Yes, thank y'all.
Thank you guys for sharing and participating in the show. We also have light finger foods, things like that for our audience. So next time you got to be here. Oh, Kathy Greggs is going to be our next guest on the show.
Hey, Kathy.
She is, I believe, a co-founder of the Fayetteville PAC. She's an activist out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Everybody knows her in Fayetteville, the mayor, all of the judges, everybody that you want to try to stay away from knows who she is, because she's down their neck. You know what I mean? And she's working, boots to the ground. So we'll be having her next month on the 4th, talking about the documentary that they just released. And we're going to do a breakdown and an analysis of it and the things that she's doing. She's doing a lot. So we're going to catch up with Kathy Greggs next month. Super excited about it. And flyer will be out next week. And you guys just stay tuned. Big things coming. And the last thing is, we've been talking about the cool spot being the talk show instead of just the podcast.
Because it already feels like a talk show, right? Like, we already cutting it up. We already having guests. Like, what's to say it's not already a talk show, right? So let's just call it that. Like, it's a talk show. We're going to stop calling it a podcast. It's a talk show.
It's a talk show.
It's a talk show.
And we're going to grow into it, and it's going to be phenomenal. So we have big plans.
The vision keeps expanding.
The vision keeps expanding. The vision don't sleep. The vision don't wait either. So it's time to move. It's time to move. So we're excited about it. Y'all stay tuned. The Cool Spot Talk Show, March 4th.
March 4th, 2023.
March 4th, 2023.
And none other than the Secret Garden.
Yep.
Okay. North Market Street in Raleigh, North Carolina. Make sure y'all stop. Oh, I was right the first time. Guys, it's Drive, guys. My bad. Let me start my promo over, guys.
You're going to have us somewhere in the backside of Durham.
What's wrong with Durham, though?
I ain't saying
Y'all know,
Bull City
wrong
with it.
Bull City. Bull City. But in all honesty, Secret Garden, Market Drive, Raleigh, North Carolina. Make sure you check it out. They have some amazing things that they do weekly. Make sure you're tapping in. It's a bean spaces though. Tap in. We sharing is caring. Again, we have lovely poets up here. We have a realtor. So make sure you check in with Landy. Y'all looking for something in the RDU area? Hit Landy up. Okay, I'm pretty sure. And surrounded. Okay, call Landy. You got a question? Hit Landy. She probably can offer you some great insight. But yes, make sure that y'all are just staying blessed, positive, and let's make it happen, guys. Don't forget your call to action. And we out. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Peace.
We're gonna hit it. Hi guys, this is a blooper. Nope.
I can't see.
You don't want to do it? Bye y'all. Again.
You got it.